I don't know exactly when it started. The feeling that I didn't belong anywhere. Maybe it was in a parking lot in Portland trying to sleep upright in a car that smelled like damp clothes and discarded fast food. Maybe it was years earlier standing alone in the Texas sun with a pack on my back, wondering if walking across America was redemption or just a slow motion breakdown. I've been called a drifter, a hobo, a failure, a free spirit. And maybe I've been all of those things at different points, but the truth is, I've just been trying to survive mentally, physically, emotionally for a long time. I was born in 1968 in El Paso, Texas, an Army brat, second of four kids. When my parents divorced, I was 8. My mom raised us in South Florida, middle class, doing her best. I had a pretty normal childhood, but I always had this itch, something akin to wanderlust. There were places I wanted to see and explore, places to experience and fill my spirit. At 17, so I joined the Navy and got stationed on an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf. I thought maybe structure would give my life meaning, but all it gave me was a clock to count down. So I served my time, got out, and then I ran toward freedom, toward the unknown. I used the GI Bill to attend the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. I wanted to be an illustrator, but I guess life rerouted me into advertising design, but it didn't last long. My friends and I hit the road to make and sell leather goods, and I was inspired by my Uncle Sid, who spent the 70s living in a VW van and selling handmade leather goods across Europe. I idolized him, his freedom, his joy, but our little road trip fell apart fast. The others peeled off one by one until it was just me, a car full of quartz crystals we dug up in Arkansas, and no clue what came next. So I sold them at the Canton flea market, pocketed the cash, and drove west with no plan. I lived out of my car in Albuquerque, and I met strange and beautiful people, tried peyote, explored caves, felt alive in that half-lost, half-awake way. But the road always calls. New Orleans for Mardi Gras, snowboarding in Colorado, enjoying summertime lakes in Texas, hitchhiking, wandering, finding love, and then losing it, Every place had its own promise and its own disillusionment. I built temporary lives, then watched them unravel. I worked jobs that hollowed me out, watched relationships dissolve into silence. Every time a relationship ended, a part of me seemed to vanish too. By my 30s, the depression had set in like rot, and the anxiety made it hard to breathe. I blamed my diet. I blamed myself. Then eventually, I just ran again. Quit a job in Virginia, took my pickup and drove to anywhere but here. And there went another few years. Freedom and failure started to blur. In 2015, I hit rock bottom emotionally, and I was stuck in a life I didn't recognize. I was suffocating. So I did something drastic. I sold my car, packed a backpack and a cart, and started walking across America. No sponsors, no backup plan, just me, my gear, and a deep gnawing desperation. The first weeks were brutal. The heat, the blisters, and the doubt. I wanted to quit a dozen times, but something shifted. With every mile, I felt a little more human. When I had nothing left, living on a wing and a prayer, I became someone else. I was broke, homeless, sore, but in doing so, I became free. It was at this time that I came up with a saying, willpower is often the lack of better options. I had painted myself into a corner and thus leaving my walk across America as the only road left to me. I walked until my legs nearly gave out in North Texas. I didn't even know I was limping until a stranger pointed it out. Then came the cougar, shadowing me from under a bridge. It was coming across the road at me, and if a car hadn't shown up, I might not be here telling you this. I know it's morbid, but sometimes I think that cougar did kill me, that everything since has been a dream. My last few seconds stretched out like a movie reel before the lights go out. Because honestly, What came next just didn't feel real. Homelessness, unending heat and humidity, isolation. I spent nights camped behind a Florida strip mall, showering in a 24-hour gym, just trying to survive. I tried to rebuild Utah because of its natural beauty, then Maine for a taste of the Appalachian Trail, but I was anemic, weak. I had to be pulled off the trail before I collapsed. So then I limped back to Oregon, which had become my favorite place, and hiked the coast. It was beautiful, but the beauty felt far away, like I was watching someone else live my life. I kept chasing something back to Florida because living in a tent in winter was a no-go, then Oregon again, then Pennsylvania to get back on my feet, Salt Lake City to give life a try again, then to Johnson City to heal my broken body, and finally back to Oregon, then rock bottom again. The depression came back like a tidal wave. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Every day became a battle to just stay upright. I stopped dreaming of a future, and I stopped believing I had one. It was a very dark time for me, a loss of all hope that things would ever get better. But then, something small changed. I picked up my phone, I made a video, I shared my story, and someone watched, then someone else. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. That's where Hobo Road was born, not from success, but from living in survival mode. Not from having the answers, but from being honest about the questions. It started slow. I wasn't trying to be a YouTuber. I just needed to speak, to document the strange, solitary life, the aimless beauty of walking long distances with nothing but a pack and a half-broken heart. I talked to the camera like it was a friend because most days it was the only one I had. Some of those early videos barely got views. Some rambled, some were dark, but I kept going. Not because I thought I was building something big, but because the act of recording made me feel like I mattered, like my days weren't just slipping past unnoticed. And then came the crash, wintertime, cloudy days, major depressive disorder, or MDD. I've dealt with depression most of my life, but this time it hit me like a freight train through fog. I couldn't function, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't imagine ever being okay again, That diagnosis has hung over me like a storm cloud, and some days it still pushes me down. I've never really seen myself as a survivor. That word always felt too strong, too noble. I didn't fight wars or beat cancer. I just endured. But maybe that's what survival really is. Because no matter how hard a day or week hits me, no matter how many times I collapse under the weight of it all, I get back up somehow, like that song Tub Thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again. And now here I am, homeless, still making videos, still speaking into the dark, hoping someone out there hears me and feels a little less alone, hoping that these trials I've lived through can make a difference to someone else. That's the road I'm on. Not glamorous, not easy, but real. It's my life in survival mode. Anyway, that's my story. That's my song. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like your life got off track or down a dark path where you felt lost? And if so, what did you do to get back on the right path? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Yeah, so that's it. I think a lot of my life has been, or at least the last 20 years of my life has been managing the suck. Managing the despair and just trying to figure out how to, I spent a lot of years just not really even moving forward, not even getting to a place of normalcy. And, it's why I'm still stuck at doing entry-level jobs and stuff because, when the depression started years ago, it just put me down and I wasn't able to think forward. I was only, treading water, getting through that day. And it is what it is. Hope your road's a good one. And if you're homeless, I hope it doesn't suck for you. Take care.